Hello, I'm George Demusis, and I'd like to talk to you today about a book I wrote that was the result of my getting a DUI arrest back in the year 2008 when I was still a young man of 65. Name of the book, I titled it, is The DUI Extortion Racket. And it's a book that I wrote because I was angry with my arrest, which I thought was a contrived arrest. I didn't think it was honest at all. It was a dishonest gotcha arrest that I think the police do simply to generate money and revenue for their business, which is the law enforcement, the DUI law enforcement business. And as you can see on the cover, I have really something that I designed myself. Uh, it's me here handing out $100 bills to the judge, the defense lawyer, the arresting officer, the court clerk who's putting that money in a cash register. Okay. And I thought this was a great cover for my book because it pretty well is a perfect meme for what happens to you when you get a DUI arrest. And on the back, I have some pithy comments that relate to what I basically think is really happening in a DUI law enforcement business. Uh, these are, like I say, pithy comments that really hit the mark. For instance, I say this book investigates and exposes the other side of the DUI arrest story, which is all about generating revenue. That's the main theme of the book. It irreverently asks, are DUI law enforcers protectors or predators? Are they men of virtue or highway bandits? Are they trying to protect Joe Citizen or are they trying to get Joe Citizen? Now, in my book, I'm pretty much saying, hey, in general, except for the times that they arrest really drunk drivers who are really a dangerous group and they put them in jail because they're so drunk they could kill somebody, that's a protect and serve operation. I agree with that. But that's not what happens most of the time. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, the police are simply scoring arrests because of a quota system. You know, they're arresting you and me, people who don't mean any harm. You know, we're not getting drunk. We just want to go out for a night on the town and have some fun and watch a show. I came out of a casino in Hollywood, Florida, you know, that was brightly lit. And I happened to be driving my girlfriend's car. She was sitting next to me. It was a new car, and she had an auto light switch that I turned off accidentally. Now I could see the road, everything, but you know, if a policeman sees you driving down this brightly lit road with your lights off at night at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I mean, that's a potential score for him. So he's going to stop you for sure. And the first thing he'll ask you is what he asked me. Did you drink anything tonight? Well, yeah. Well, I came out of a casino. I was there for 3 hours. Yeah, I drank something. Anyway, um, I just wanted to read one more little strip here. It says, citizens who drive after social drinking, like me, are not criminals. They are sinners no worse than the other sinners who make up the human race. Robbing them of their liberty and money is what's criminal. And I mean that sincerely. You know, they act so cavalier about arresting a common everyday citizen that they're supposed to protect and serve. But no, they decide, I'm going to arrest this sucker and make some money. You know, they make money by depositions, they get overtime pay. So the more arrests they make, DUI arrests, the more money they make. I mean, a cop making, you know, $50,000 a year could end up making $150,000 a year with the overtime pay from DUI arrests. So um, that's something that upsets me because it says I'll tell you what. You know what it says? It says that they use a moral excuse to commit immoral acts. How that's kind of evil, isn't it? You know, that's like something that none of us who are decent people would ever think of using. And then they use a quota system to justify their morality. Well, you know, quota system and morality are totally opposite each other. You know, morality means you won't do something because you think it's immoral. A quota system says you will do something whether it's immoral or not, because if you don't, you're going to lose your job or you're going to get transferred to some poorer job, and that's why they do it. So a quota system, there's nothing moral about it. And that's what DUI law enforcement is in America. It's nothing more than a gotcha game based on a quota system. I guess what I'm saying, having said that, you know, DUI law enforcement in general, in the main, is a gotcha game based on a police department quota system. Um, Let me just expand on that and say that really what they're doing, these police, is policing for profit. It's another way to say it, policing for profit. And I thought, when I thought of this phrase, I thought, well, okay, maybe, you know, it's going to sound like hyperbole again. But guess what? In the year 2019, the Supreme Court adjudicated the same thing about the police in one of its sessions. For instance, here it is in my book, you know, chapter one. It titled it Policing for Profit. Okay. I'm not going to read everything to you, but I just wanted to read a couple of phrases. Okay. Like, for instance, the Supreme Court just struck a huge unanimous blow against policing for profit. And they're talking about how the Supreme Court ended up placing real limitations on policing for profit across the country. Its unanimous decision, for the first time, prohibits all 50 states from imposing excessive fines, including a seizure of property on people accused or convicted of a crime. The landmark decision represents a broad agreement on the Supreme Court that law enforcement's legalized theft has gone too far. Now, this is the Supreme Court saying, talking about general law enforcement, not specifically DUI law enforcement like I am, but they're saying that general law enforcement is all about, yeah, not all about, but it's a lot about policing for profit. They actually seize people's property if they commit a crime, but it's the problem with that is you don't have 100% honest police out there. I support honest police. I support honest law enforcement with all my heart. People, you know, the police who risk their lives to arrest, you know, robbers, rapists, and, you know, murderers. I mean, this is a wonderful job, and we need police to do that. Just think if we didn't have those police at all, you know, this would be the Wild West, just like in New York right now. But what I'm getting at is that, you know, the police, there is a dishonesty vein in the police departments of America. And I'm going to bring that up a little later here in the discussion. But I'm really being corroborated here by the Supreme Court. You know, Philip, what's her name? Ginsburg, who's gone now. She was involved with this in the main, what's her name? Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay. And she basically really admonished the police for doing that because she sees it as dishonesty just like I do, you know. So that's something in my first chapter that's worth reading. My second chapter, I'm not going to go through all the chapters, but I will mention a few of them. Second chapter is kidnapped for ransom. I basically, this is how I felt. I mean, I realize that's, a bit of hyperbole there, but when I say kidnapped for ransom, I mean, in the end, that's how I felt. That's what I felt when I was being arrested with my hands behind my back. Um, I felt like I was being kidnapped. There I was driving home, looking forward to getting home so I could sleep. It was 3 in the morning, and I'm with my girlfriend, and she had to call her sons to come get her. Uh, you know, Whereas I ended up in jail. I'm not going to go into all the gory details; take too long. But the policeman that arrested me, he admitted that I passed the road test, which I did. My girlfriend's policeman said, that was standing next to her, said he would have never arrested me because I did pass the road test. But the arresting officer said, I still think you're impaired. Talk about police discretion. I'm supposed to respect that? Of course I did. I'm not going to fight the policeman like some people do. But I was angry. I said, well, come on, we're decent people. Why are you doing this? He said, I got to protect all those people out there on the road from drunk drivers. And I go, well, I wasn't drunk. Anyway, so I went to jail and all that, spent a night in jail. So anyway, that was just the start. I spent the whole next year making payments, being extorted. And I thought that this part of DUI, of law enforcement is really dishonest and it needs to stop. But, how does one guy like me do that? Well, you write a book. But if only 10 people read it, nothing's going to happen. Anyway, so my recommendation is that you read the book and get all the gory details that I have in here and keep in mind what I said, and in fact, one of the things I said in the book, see if you agree with me, but, this is something that I really sincerely believe, and that is that the punishment for DUI must fit the crime, or the punishment itself is the crime. I say that in the book more than once, I think. It's uh, it's annoying to know that, the people that you want to respect the most, that you want to trust the most, namely the police, could be so vile when it comes to you, the common man. I mean, how can they arrest somebody, make them out to be a criminal? Because as soon as you're arrested, I mean, that goes on your record. Now you're a criminal in the eyes of a lot of future, bosses and people that might want to, hire you for their business. It, it's really, uh, it's really immoral. That's the way I look at it. I mean, if you want to punish somebody because they drank a little too much, I could see them taking away, towing your car away, making you take a cab home, and then charging you, giving you a $500 ticket, and then a couple of points on your record. But to make you a criminal, to arrest you, to throw you in jail, to me that is as disingenuous and as immoral as you can get if you're in a position that requires you to protect and serve the common man. And that's a terrible thing. And what I'd like to do in this segment is to talk about a concept called corroboration. Okay, everybody who accuses an official organ of or some institution of wrongdoing really could appreciate a little corroboration, and so can I. And I think I found it here in this one movie and other things. But There's a movie out on Hulu called, let's see if I can do this, Crime Plus Punishment. And what does it say? A documentary giving human faces to number-driven policing. Okay. It's really all about policing for profit. And it's a movie, it's a documentary about 12 whistleblower cops who are mostly minorities who were told that, they have to arrest so many people, and it's basically a quota system just like the one I exposed here, for DUI law enforcement. And they're protesting it. It's illegal. Quotas are illegal. They were made illegal back in 2010, I think it was. And it's what Ruth Bader Ginsburg was talking about when she said policing for profit cannot be allowed by the police. Okay. So I watched this movie. It's a 2-hour movie, beautifully done. It makes you wonder how can people be so evil who are high up in government positions, and they just want false accusations to prevail. Go out and arrest all these minority types who maybe if they, maybe they didn't cause the crimes that we're going to accuse them of, but so what? We need a certain amount of numbers to bring some profits into the police department. We need to generate revenue. This is what I've been saying about DUI law enforcement. Anyway, if you get a chance to watch a documentary that's really good about crooked police, this is one of them. It's on Hulu and nowhere else really. I couldn't find it anywhere else. Along that same line, I have a chapter here, chapter 4, where I talk some more about corroboration by remembering Serpico. Let's see. Do you see that? Remembering Serpico. And what I do in these 2 paragraphs here is describe how Serpico, exposed corruption in New York again in 1973, and he generated this court or this commission called the Knapp Commission that uncovered the fact that there was widespread corruption of police officials at all levels. At all levels. I mean, you can't go through life thinking police are holy. I think a lot of them are very good people, and maybe I actually believe most of them are good people, but not all of them. No way. And you can read about this in the book, but it shows how they were involved in graft and extortion, just like mafioso, wise guys. They're basically collecting money from bookies on the promise that they won't arrest them. It's that's as corrupt as you can get. And then I have this chapter 15 called or titled "Good Cops, Bad Cops, Criminal Cops" that I enjoyed writing. It's one of my more favorite chapters. In it, I say, we have them all. Good cops, bad cops, criminal cops. They're certainly not all bad, nor are they all good. However, because some are bad, no policeman's word should be trusted unconditionally in a court of law. Now, what I talk about here is the different traffic stops I had that were corrupt as hell. There were, complete fabrications, and a couple of arrests that I had before this last arrest that I had that were contrived and completely, it seemed completely immoral. I mean, I couldn't describe them any better than to say they were immoral. And also had encounters with a cop in Mexico that shook me down. Just, there's been so much what I would say immorality that I witnessed in certain cops, not all cops. I mean, I've also been stopped by nice police who treated me nicely, and we talked, and I was going a little fast, a little bit speeding a little bit, but they let me go because I was nice to them. So, I want that to be known too, the fact that, I don't think, you know, all traffic cops are rotten or anything like that. There's very good cops out there too. Anyway, the whole point of this book was to convince you that there is such a thing as a racket in law enforcement, and it's the DUI side of it. I see it as a complete extortion racket. It's a business for profit that has no compassion for innocent, decent people that they took an oath to protect and serve. And all they're doing is serving themselves to our money. I mean, that's why I call it a racket and an extortion racket, because it's all about them putting my money, your money, into their pockets, into the, uh, coffers of the government, the local government, and the police departments. It's a terrible thing. I find it to be actually evil. It is evil. And I don't think honest law enforcement is evil because as I said earlier, we need honest law enforcement. We can't live without it. So I'm all for more and more honest police out there. But DUI is a horse of a different color, man. It's not the same kind of law enforcement you would expect. You want to trust your police, not fear them. And they shouldn't be making criminals out of decent people. When you arrest somebody, that goes on their record, and you make them look bad in front of everybody else that they have to deal with in their careers and so on. So anyway, please, if you are interested, um, buy this book. It's on Kindle, and I talk about it on my website, which is uh, titled DUI-extortion.com. Please go there. It'll give you all the details on how to get this book and talk some more about what I talked about here. So, thanks for listening, and I wish you all the best. Goodbye.